Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the TFC Open Mic, Season 3, Episode 13, Bounty, TLCs, and more. And tonight, so far, I'm joined by Brian. Hey, Brian.
Hello.
And we have Venom.
Hello.
So, guys, Bounty, how's it going for you, Venom?
It's not going too bad. Running out of targets to hit, so just hitting the little NPC bases as I go. But other than that, it's going well. The bases are relatively balanced this time. There's not too many that really stress the fleets, and sort of mid-level. The high level bases are still quite tough, but it's a lot more balanced than it was last time.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We were just talking before we went live with the show. There are some very creative people out there. I've run into quite a few bases that don't have all of the newer tech or the greatest guard fleets, but they've come up with some pretty tricky stuff. There was one I hit that had rages that I just couldn't kill. It was driving me nuts. But yeah, so good mix of bases. I've seen a lot of low levels as well as mid levels. I know some folks were talking about how they weren't able to find any of them. They're out there. You just got to catch them when they load. Best way to do it is to go to like the far end of your sector and then just work your way back along the drag bases. Hello, Rum.
Hello.
And how are you?
Good. How are you, Rue?
I'm doing pretty good. Brian,
Nice
you doing bounty?
No, my fleet's not ready, but that's my fault. I'm being really lazy, even with getting titanium, even though I can do it on auto. But it's nice to see the evolution of this because it provides it's like a snapshot and also a really big trial of how base defense is at this point in time. You get to see attacker versus defender advantage and how that evolves with turrets and new armors and counter turrets and counter armors. It's interesting to think about it, if nothing else.
Yep. And Rum, how's your bounty going?
Very well. Not bad at all. Spending most of the time on actual bases and not the NPCs.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, we're kind of lazy pirates. We just let everyone else collect, and then we go flatten them for it.
Well,
no,
I wasn't
that's
going to quite put it
efficiency.
that way.
You're being efficient.
Yeah, I must say I did get the missile hull last bounty. Not a whole lot else, but I did get that, and I did get the missile, and I've been having a whole lot of fun with that fleet.
Even if you just have one missile hull, one missile hull with sloths is just great fun. That's all I've been using at the moment.
Well, and that's what I've been telling the guys in my alliance who are asking, what to get with the missile hull and the D55, I think it is, missile. That's 15,000 bounty points, and if you can reach all of the 2K checkpoints, then that gives you the ability to build that fleet. You don't necessarily need the new special. You can use the older tech to build a really good fleet. In fact, Ren has a video out there on how to build them, and I'm using his build and having a blast with them. Speak of the devil, hey Ren.
Oh,
I see him. But anyway, so I've been taking that fleet out and had a whole lot of fun. And so like I said, if you hit the checkpoints and you can get that hull and that missile, then that will give you a good head start for the next bounty.
You do well, yeah.
I know we're about halfway through the bounty, but what do you feel is the comparison between this bounty and last bounty?
Well, for me, I think it's a little more even. Last time there was the newer fleets that were, basically going out there smashing, and people still have the newer fleets. But I'm seeing a lot of folks with a lot of creativity with the pass-through and using some of the older hulls to actually kill off and damage a lot of those newer fleets.
Is pass-through the drinking word?
Pass-through is the drinking word. And speaking of pass-through, if you didn't notice it, I think I spammed it everywhere last night. Renato put an incredibly easy to understand video out there that explains pass-through. And he uses lots of pictures and very little math, and has some great tips at the end for guard fleets.
It's long.
Well, I'm sure it is.
Yeah. I don't like long videos. That one was 17 minutes. I couldn't cut it down any further. I wanted to.
Yeah, sometimes though you just got to get all of the information in there. But it was a really good video. So if you haven't had a chance to look at it, please take the time to listen to it.
And there is a guard. What is the boulder fist? At the end, there's a boulder fist built for base guard if people want.
Mm-hmm.
Get them started on a good pass-through base guard.
This is Rin's War and Peace.
Pretty much.
Wow. How's your bounty going, Ren?
It's going well. Rum asked a very good question comparing this one to the next one. My only complaint about this one is the escalation in point requirements. I mean, it's fun, but it gets to a point where it becomes grindy again, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I didn't want it to be a grind. Last one was a very good balance. I still didn't get all the prizes. I got no skins, no this, no that, but got the new ship, got the new weapon, not the special. You know, and I was happy.
The last one was very enjoyable for almost everyone. This one, I think, because the requirements does feel more grindy, and there's a lot less points out there to gather. So it seems like the only thing you can do once you reach a certain point level is to hit your opponents, which brings in the grind. And your opponent bases are much tougher than what they were last time. Not that that's a bad thing. I think it helps everybody learn how to hit bases, but there still seems to be a shortage of points.
Yeah, and I think to make it less grindy, two things. First, bring down the point requirement a little bit, you know. And second, I think requiring us to 100% the opponent replica bases makes it very boring, because in the end you spend 2 minutes killing that one King's Wraith that just won't die, right? Or you spend a minute circling the base to get all those tiny beauties in the corners. And for a real player's base, you don't have to do that. It's OP and 50%. So I think once somebody gets the outpost and 50% on the replicas, they should just blow up and give you the points.
Yeah, I agree with that. I have actually been dragging my subs behind, going in with my main fleet, taking the chocolatey center, then just jumping out and then throwing the subs in on auto to finish it up. But yeah, some of those guard ships, you either have to go back in with subs or bring some other surface fleet in to get them, and that is kind of annoying. Hey Terry, how are you?
Hi Rue.
How's your bounty going?
Oh, not too bad. I'm doing okay, I guess. It is a little tougher, at least for a lot of our mid and lower levels. I'm having trouble finding the mid and lower level copy bases, and even some of the 70s and 80s have a lot better bases now than there were last time, which I agree isn't a bad thing. I agree with Rum Runner, but it's harder to get points. I'm having fun because I'm hitting more player bases, so a lot more player bases than I did last time. It's just I don't have to kill the fleet. And it's something Rem was saying earlier in the copy bases. I mean, you got to kill all those fleets, and people that have onslaughts and stuff in there, they can be a bitch to kill. So with the player bases, you just got to 50% in the OP, and I can just wave at the fleets as I retreat out.
Yeah, the highlight of the day for me was when today we took a second Nexus. So we had one golden Nexus, and we teamed up to get a second one. That was a lot of fun for 30-40 minutes there. I think it lasted that long.
Congratulations on your second Nexus.
That was fun.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, we don't have the normal big alliances in our world this time around. It's kind of interesting because it's been kind of quiet. It looks like they're all elsewhere fighting over nexuses and stuff. So I haven't seen any of the massive battles that I've usually seen on those.
I see someone there has 4, right?
Somebody, yeah.
5.
Somebody has 4.
Somebody had 5. Well, yeah, we gave it back to what we thought were the rightful owners of it.
Yeah, we're not completely mean.
No, there was a miscommunication about something, and somebody weakened an alliance enough to where someone else came in and took it over. So we went, took it back, and said, "Hey, you guys heal up and come on back," and they did.
That's nice of you.
Sportsmanly conduct.
Unbelievable, even.
I know. Who are these people, and what did they do with SDS7?
Yeah. I assume he walks away sick. You guys will be doing that kind of crap, right?
Yeah.
I can't see Ewok doing that unless someone's sending gold. Then I could totally see it.
Yeah. So have you guys seen an uptick in, for those that are not at the top of the leaderboard and don't have any targets to hit, are you seeing an increase in base hitting by people?
I got hit 4 times last night, so yes.
A little bit, because there's this. It depends on when. When, like, late at night or early this morning for me here, Eastern time zone in North America, it was early morning. There were plenty of bases who were past checkpoint 5, and so everybody had thousands of unsecured. Not everybody, I mean, enough people had thousands of unsecured bounty that there were some very intense fights for, first of all, clean up external guard and then go in, and not easy, right? Right now it goes down because most people are going through checkpoints 1 to 4, so bases are worth 400, 500, 700. Then honestly, you're better off fighting a replica to get 700 bounty. You get 2 of them, no hassle, 700. It's good when it's like 2,000, 5,000. Then it gets interesting.
I don't know. I disagree, Rand. I'd rather hit a player base for 500 than hit the replicas, because I don't have to kill that real player's guard fleet. And that's, to me, that's a lot of damage, a lot of difference in what I got a coin to repair. So, I mean, if I can leave, his onslaught and hopes and whatever he's got in his base, just kill the op and make sure I got over 50% and hit the retreat button, I'm good. Where, like I said, the replicas, you got to kill it all.
Yeah. No, but honestly, it's a valid approach. We're taking different approaches. I mean, if I'm gonna only find bases for 500-600, I'll go for easy replicas. Just because easy replicas don't have a guard, or like level 90, level 80, some are tough, but most of them are just walk in the park. You get 300 here, 300 there, no hassle. Because the other player, they're online, they're going to drive on you, make your life hard. For 500 bounty, 700 bounty, not worth it.
Yeah, the repair costs when you're doing, I've been doing between 80 or 81 and 90 bases for the replicas, and you'll do many more replica bases than you will player bases for the same amount of repair. And
exactly. But now if I find a base and it's like 3,000 bounty, 5,000 bounty, absolutely. I'll give it a try if I can.
If it's over 1,000, then yeah, your bounty's going to be mine. Just keep collecting more and I'll come back.
But, it's still a major improvement. Someone said that yesterday. At least it's not the bobs for 50 points each, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's way better.
Yeah.
On the other hand, now you got to score, I think, 120,000 bounty if you want to get a lot of the prizes. No way I'm getting there. I'm just past 30,000.
Have some hope in yourself. Come
on. To me, the did everything just crash on me?
No,
I can still hear you.
We can still hear you.
The game and everything crashed, so I was wondering if everything did. The NPC bases or your opponent bases are the key. I mean, that's what brought the fun back in Bounty. And
Yeah.
I think if you guys were going to do a video, picking apart some of these NPC bases and teaching people how to hit them would be the best thing you could do to bring back PvP to a certain extent. A lot of people are afraid to try a base, and if you don't try, you're never going to learn.
Yeah, amen.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because I've been telling everybody that, if nothing else, and even if you're not participating in bounty, you can go out and hit these and practice using your fleet with, nobody watching to laugh at you, and you've got the retreat button, so if you need to, eject quickly before taking a bunch of damage, you have the ability to do so and they don't bubble. But there's a lot of variety of them. I mean, there's been mid-level bases that have just been brutal, and then there's been some higher ones that are not so brutal. And so, yeah, I think it's a good opportunity for people to, especially if they're newer, to get in there and give them a go.
I think
Are you doing bounty, Brian?
I'm doing Borderlands.
Okay. The prequel, the sequel, what are you doing?
Two. I'm bad at this game, but like all of it was on sale for $8, and they announced 3, so here we are.
Yeah, my son was used to play Borderlands like all the time. Now he's playing Rainbow Six.
That's a really interesting game I've seen as an esport. I've seen there's a lot of depth to it. I haven't actually watched it as an esport, but I saw it a couple times. It looked really fun. So this is a show about battle pirates.
Yeah. So going back to the points, do we think with the amount of points that are going to be needed that Sunday or Monday Fun Day is going to be even more active than usual?
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any question, because if you're in an alliance that's in a world, the situation that we're in, we're all fighting for points, not necessarily among ourselves, but to try to come up with the points, because there aren't as many targets.
Mm-hmm.
How much of the prize list do you think will show up again in the tech store raid in a couple of weeks?
Oh, in a couple of weeks, nothing. None of the new items will.
Rampage did mention the onslaughts and missile cruisers, but that was all he mentioned, so I wasn't sure. I'd like to see the tactical focus in again, because I'm going to grab a couple of them this time, but would love to grab a few more. I mean, there's a couple of the little side items, maybe not the hull, but a few other items that could.
The big one for me is that limited tactical module that now they've increased the limited to 5, I think. Right? So I had 2 from last time, the first time they were offered, so I can redeem 3, but I'm like, okay, do I spend 30,000 bounty on them? Or do I trust they might be in the tech store? I don't know.
That's interesting, because they first came out, and then I think we've gone through 2 bounties where they weren't in there at all, correct?
Right.
No, one. Last bounty with the MSC, they were not, but the one before was the Onslaught, and that's when they were first offered.
Yeah, we've had a bounty and a raid where they were not available.
Yeah, so this is the second time they're offered, and I'm wondering, are they going to be in the tech store? Do I want to take that risk?
I'm not going to take that chance. I'm going to get all of them that I can.
All right, because I'm likely then going to have to skip the Warden.
Yeah, it's a tough decision. Without there being enough points, it's almost like you're trying to limit. They're trying to force people into making a decision, and it'll be risk-reward.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
If we're all blind to something that the Warden offers and we don't take it, we're going to regret it. So, I mean, it's smart programming on Kick's eye, but it's definitely not in the player's favor.
No, it's smart, but it's smart gaming. You're right. Forces you to think and trace a strategy and stick to it and make choices. And some people will come on top, some people will not.
Well, there was not necessarily a weapon for use in base hitting in the last raid. There's not a weapon for use in base hitting in this raid. So it's like they're depending upon us to pull apart the old technology to find something that works. So if you can stop most of the fleets now, in a way, you don't have to have the Warden unless something comes up that, oh, wow, the Warden really fits what we need. And there's your regret.
Yeah, the primary mission of the Warden, as I understand, is a countermeasure hull with a humongous range.
Yeah,
I think the range goes like to 250 or something like that.
But really doesn't have enough weapon slots on it to begin with to do something where you have countermeasures and some type of.
That's right. And you're forced to do countermeasures on 2 slots at least.
Yeah, so you're limited to 4 weapons. So I don't know what you would It doesn't, you know, and they would have to, for the most benefit, should be missiles or mortars to take advantage of the. So it would be an all countermeasure hull, and I think I can wait a couple months until they offer it again. I'm just going to take that risk.
I might go down that path as well.
Well, what was it? The Omni that they offered in Bounty 1 week, and then they offered it in the very next raid.
That was the Hope.
It was the Hope. Okay,
Yeah.
I couldn't remember what it was. You know, they could do that again because they're basically in the same situation.
Yeah,
they could. I'm not saying they will, but they could.
No,
but that's a lower risk for me. I think I can get away without having it for a couple months, as opposed to some of the other stuff offered in the raid that I really wanted yesterday. So
what I always think is, okay, a player who wants to play Bounty but play it safe, and not many players can do what I'm going to say here, but if you could, from day one, you have 3 days where the 5 checkpoints are easy to achieve, easy-ish, right? If you do that, you can secure 18,000 on day 1, 18,000 on day 2, and the same on day 3, right? It's 4 checkpoints at 2,000 and 1 at 10, so that's 18.
And that doesn't include all of your bounty or your grants or your drips.
I'm just saying the grants will add up to that, right? The grants form part of like you get into the checkpoint. So
yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
To try to only play 2 checkpoints, you end up day 3 with 54,000 bounty. Then day 4, if you want to play the last day, if you want to play safe, you only go up to checkpoint 4, 10K, and you stop. If you don't want to become a big target, just saying, playing safe, right? So it's 64,000 bounty playing safe without having the big exposure in the last 24 hours of the event, which you can, up to you. But I'm just saying you can secure 64,000 bounty. And how far does that take you in the store? Not far, right? You get the Warden, you get the countermeasure, that's already 55. Now you have 9,000 points. Right? So maybe you get one of those tactical focuses, or maybe you get I don't know.
Making an argument to not get the Warden this time.
It is a consideration, absolutely. And you got the Halos.
That was my next.
Buffing the Executioners. Why would you get the Halos?
To buff the Executioner 2s.
But that's what I just said. Other than that, why else?
Nothing that we can see. But that goes back to kind of what we were talking about on one of the other shows. How much hidden attributes are there with these weapons or this hull that we don't see visible today?
Well, I hit several bases that, I was slowed to a crawl, and a Halo, if you had one back on his island, would have hit me a couple of times. I mean, with that damage extra, I don't know how much MC, you can only put 3 MC plates on there at a time on your hulls. So eventually you're going to get the damage up above that.
Yeah. Again,
they're hitting 47,000 per MERV splash damage.
Yeah, but Rin, we're all aware that all it takes is one special to come out to completely revolutionize an older weapon or one that we consider to be underpowered as of today.
You're right.
So we don't know, and that's the plug-in game that we're waiting to see. You put some of the parts in the right place, and then all of a sudden, along comes the right piece that makes that golden.
Yeah, but here's the trick: is they would have to be real smart to release a special to make the Halo worth it, because it would have to be a very, very strong special. But at the same time, it would have to be a special that does not help the Executioner 2.
Right. Well, that's what I say. They could create a special.
Yeah. Right? Because if it's something that, increases penetrating damage by 6 times, I'm going to put that on my Execution.
We need to be like penetrative splash damage. We need to have both of those qualities. It's the only reasonable turret that has both. Because if you just add splash, then one day down the line they're going to release the new Epic Cat mode, and you just put that on, and then everything does.
Yeah, we need something to turn the Halo into the Epic Halo.
20 more days build time.
I don't know, but something that like multiplies that projectile speed by 10,
Like a fuel air munition for halos.
something like it.
Yeah.
Or something that stops it from going to Mars first before it lands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Something-
10 times more projectile speed, and maybe something like, a 1% chance of a 1000% crit hit.
So I've got another question. In listening to some of the members of the Alliance talk, there was a question that came up with, why don't they allow us to spend our secured bounty now instead of making it a store situation? Because if you've got 36,000 secured right at this moment, why don't they let you spend it?
So people don't get the new tech right away.
Yeah, what would
Unbalance
be
the
wrong with
current
that?
bounty.
Yeah, well, if you go out there on the first day and get a bunch of secured bounty, and then you can go out and get the newest U-Butte Bestis point and click smash everybody's base hull, then there will be people that will have that and will be out terrorizing everybody else, I guess.
Yeah, because
think about it last month.
But
Last
it
month is a
creates
great-
more bounty, right?
Yeah, but last month is a great example of that. Imagine if people could have redeemed. Oh no, that wasn't in bounty. It was a raid thing. The Howie. Never mind.
Yeah, but that's
but
what I'm saying. If you but just because you secure enough bounty to go out and use a little, doesn't mean you're going to be able to get all the supplemental parts to go with it.
Yeah, but guys are going to do like they do in the raid. They're going to coin the new hull or whatever and get it in their base. And unlike the raid, we don't have normal bubble times and half repair. Which during a raid, if you coin, you get the new hull the first day and you go out and do whatever with it. Not as big an impact because, once you smash me, I'm bubbled for 2 days. That's half the raid. You aren't going to do it twice. And, I got half repair on my guard. I don't have that today.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of just what you said. It's balance. They don't want to break the event mid-event because 1,000 players got things early. And you got to realize it's still a very small amount of players getting those prizes. Like I said, I'm just over. I'm at 34,000 bounty right now, and in global leaderboard, I'm 2,000, 1,100 or something like that. So there are only 2,100 players ahead of me. It's not many getting all the cool toys, and I'm not going to get the cool toys.
Hey, Hefe, how are you?
Oh, pretty good. I wanted to join in on the Halo 2 conversation. I was waiting for Ren to come out with a video explaining it.
Explaining what?
Explaining the Halo 2 and why we should get it.
Oh, to buff the executioners, like was said already. It's the only reason right now.
Yeah, it's a really expensive buff, though, isn't it?
Yep.
Just to do that. And would they actually break through, would the executioner at that point actually break through deflection?
No, it won't.
Okay, so it's more than expensive.
It will hurt fleets poorly built, but any fleet with 3 MC1s, even with 2 halos giving the buffs on the executioners, it doesn't break deflection.
So how's your bounty going? You participating, Hefe?
Yeah, I'm participating. It's going all right, except for the fact that I still don't think the bubbles are long enough because it's if you take some damage on your outpost and you only get like a 2-hour bubble or a 3-hour bubble, and eventually they're just going to wear you down even if you're online. Because you need with the minimum damage game that we're playing, a lot of it's sort of just they're going to hit your outpost.
Coins. Coins.
What? Yeah, well, yes, you can coin it back.
You can't really coin it when you're sleeping, though.
Yeah, that's true. But Kix wants you to coin that. That's what they want you to do.
Yeah, it's
or not sleep.
Well, I'm saying even if you sleep, because it's like an 11-hour repair time, and I haven't got more than a 3-hour bubble. So it's it just gradually wears it down, and like I said, with the minimum damage, they're gonna hit your outpost in some way. It's whether you can outlast them.
Yeah, I'm improvising.
Okay.
Well, I think it maybe it's not a longer bubble time, because if you make them, let's say, 8-hour bubbles, then your base is out of action for 8 hours. Maybe they should think of speeding up the repair quicker. So still only give the 4-hour bubble, so you could still be hitting 4 hours and not everybody's under bubbles all night, kind of thing. But maybe speed up that repair so that you're not left hanging with still a half dead base at the end of that bubble time.
They have it
And,
as an
Yeah.
and
app,
I
right?
know I'm
Or
going to
meet
get the
somewhere in the
usual
middle.
objection of, you know, not everyone has that, but eviscerators are excellent guards.
Hmm.
It's very hard to kill them, and they repair in 30 minutes. When I say I'm improvising, like I have my normal guard, they get damaged, I throw a boulder fist, an eviscerator, some conqueror in there that I have without armor. It holds up pretty decently until the rest is repaired.
Yeah, I haven't actually been having problems with the guard because they haven't really been doing that much damage to mine. It's just like I said, it's the. I mean, I guess I could put coins on the outpost, but it's just your outpost just gradually gets worn down because you can't. At least I can't keep them from actually hitting it. It's the killing it thing that's unless they hit me with boulder fist or something. I was so happy somebody hit me with boulder fist last night. Gave me a 2-hour bubble to push myself over that 10K mark. But yeah, I just wish the repair times were shorter, or something needs to get tweaked in there, especially with the way the base power is relative to the attacker power. If you're getting hit by the storm cruisers and onslaughts, it's just most likely they're gonna make it there. It's just like I said, just holding them off, taking enough damage, and putting out enough damage. And I think the last TLC, the new TLC, the Abysmal whatever, has some very useful things in there for doing that.
For doing what?
For holding off attacking ships that are hitting your outpost.
Well, not that trap.
Not the trap. No, I was thinking more the penetrative overlay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a really good segue. If everybody's done with bounty, you want to go into the Abysmal TLC?
Could I just say one more thing?
Sure.
Just on that last topic. The people who are killing the top fleets most often are using their guard as their biggest defense, where the guard's doing the most damage and stopping the fleets. The issue I have is the repair bubble's so low that once you go off to sleep, you either have to wake up in the middle of the night and check that you haven't been hit, or you're going to be hit, as I was, 3 times. So 25%. Then once your bubble pops the second time, they can go all the way to 50% before bubbling you. So they can prep out all your guard if they want, and then come back in and then get you. So
yeah, because to over 25% is just 2 hours, right?
Yeah,
I had one of those yesterday.
There's not much you can do as a defender at that point. Where yes, you can stop the fleets when you're online, but once you go to sleep, you're going to get messed up easily. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
No, that's a really good point, and I've seen the same myself last night.
I don't think they should have fixed the Howies myself. I think they should have left them alone and then made it more creative.
Well, the Howie wasn't broken. It was tactical mod auras that were causing it to be over.
Double stacking, yeah. They were
stacking over 5, yeah.
Yeah, the fire support was stacking 2s and 1s together.
Oh, so more stuff that was broken.
Yeah. They fixed the fire support, but the Howie's still putting out decent. I mean, as long as they don't have 3 of the MC plates on the Howie's, are still
with 3. The crit hit with the right number of specials fire support, you still can do like 70-80K per crit hit that hits. And that thing's pumping up fire like every 0.6 seconds or something, like 0.5, whatever.
I think I worked at 155K or something like that per crit hit, if you're set up right.
Yeah, maybe I did the math wrong, but when I did, it was like 75. I
Which
didn't
is
do the math, to be honest, because I was lazy. I just used whatever math was in George's article.
Mightn't be the best to use at the moment.
Yeah, I know I went into an opponent's base. It wasn't paying attention and thought I'd hit the auto button. And of course, I clicked behind the gate that I hadn't destroyed yet, so my fleet just sat there. And came back to it about 2 minutes later, and my fleet was almost dead because the only thing that was reaching it was the Howie, and the ship wasn't moving.
Great.
Yes, so lesson learned on autoing with those. But okay, well,
Just if I can intersect again, just while we're talking about the Howie, the turret damage is broken. I know I said this to you, Robin, before the show started, but don't take the damage that you see in the turret for granted. It's not what you actually get. And from testing, everything seems to be multiplicative rather than additive. So
It's easy for you to say.
Yeah, the damage that the turret, if you equip everything onto a turret, it will give you a damage on the right hand side in the statistics. That's not correct.
True. The fire support,
support's
the way
not
it's
correct.
displayed is completely broken, and it's always been.
Yeah, tier 7 bonus is multiplicative. I can't say it. Multiplicative, not additive. So you're timesing them as well. So it's a whole series.
So you
of
mean
things.
like that tier 7 ballistic bonus of 25% is not 25 plus 25. It's on top, 25 on top of 25.
Yeah.
Okay, that I didn't know.
It's something like 1.56, or that's what, at least what the testing's been showing, is it's 1.5.
Okay. The fire support I knew, that one's new to me, the tier bonus.
So if anyone's actually doing the math for it, it's not what it shows.
It's a lot more.
It's actually more than you would think.
So everything the game tells you about damage basically is lies. And,
yes, pretty much.
And that's a real problem. Not necessarily when you're doing PvE because you have the right builds and really we don't know their resistance.
Oh, dude, you're gonna get Hefe going.
They do whatever. But when it comes to PvE, when it comes to PvP, and you've got all this stuff, it's percentages on top of percentages on top of hundreds of thousands of damage, that's important. And I know I did the quick math where it was, if 5 fire support 2s are multiplicative, it's a little over double the damage, whereas additive is just 1.75. So that's 25% more on all that other damage you added up in the hundreds of thousands. And you have to break very specific, very high numbers to damage holes with millions of armor points. Like, this matters, you guys. Come on, get it together.
All I can say is, like, I wish this guy doing the display stats on Battle Pirates were the guy calculating my mortgage. All I can say.
Pay more so you pay on the principal because that's where the interest is based off of. And everybody knows that, but there's your tip for the day. No, but yeah, and it matters because when in the center, well, there's two parts about it. There's the center island, and then there's outside of the center island. And outside, you might have to place holes there because you don't have room to have everything surrounded by 5 fire support 2s necessarily, or by like weaker buildings that you build to put fire supports on. And when you get into that math, it really does matter if 3 fire supports are 4. What breaks this deflection? What breaks this deflection? And we're talking about a difference of 30,000 per hit because we're starting with a salvo of a few 100,000. And we're adding 10% onto that versus 12.5 or another 10 or another 12. And so there's that. But also, right now, you need to have all of those big turrets, the howitzers and the executioners, in your center island with all 5 fire supports, with everything on it, maybe even with a faction buff, to get it to break most deflections. Not necessarily fully spec'd against that, but it needs a lot of work, and there's only so much room that you can use to put 5 fire supports with all the bonuses on everything. And so as we get more and more turrets, it's just going to become unfeasible to have all of those grouped in there. So we're either going to have weaker deflections on damage types that we don't have right now, weaker rad deflections, weaker corrosive deflections, or stronger base damages on those turrets, or both, so that we can get to a point where we feel like we can meaningfully damage hull. Even if you can't spec against all 6 and only spec against 5, you can bring in a hull that's spec against that one and kill off that specific turret and then run in with the other one with impunity. It's a very complex game, even in the end game, and I don't know how they're going to balance that well, because with a lot of the current stuff, it's particularly unbalanced. I sort of see the end goal, but to do it well is incredibly difficult, and I don't think they can do that well. I'm just going to say it. Very, very hard, and I have concerns.
That's what I got out of Rampage's video 2 weeks ago, though, was that in the end, when it's all balanced, and what they call balanced, where there's not as big of pendulum swings, that there's going to be bases you're going to be able to walk and bases you're not going to be able to get into, because you're going to have to do that kind of picking and choosing. I mean, do I, not defend that much against corrosive, and then if the guy's got a lot of corrosive turrets, I'm toast. That kind of thing, where you're not going to be able to get in every base because you got the primo fleet.
Yeah. And I think, when it gets to that point, because originally that's more or less what the game was. It's like, oh, my fleet can break this base, but not that base, because that base is strong and explosive, and I'm all set up to defend against missile damage.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm okay with that. The problem is more, to me, what Brian just said, where the game with deflection is very different. It's very binary. It's either like you're doing 360 damage per shot, or you're over that deflection, right? But if you're not over, you're nothing. It's not like resistance is progressive; it gets progressively better, right? Because if you have 4% of your total damage getting through, the higher the damage, the higher that 4% means. With deflection, is like, how much over 2,800,000 deflection are you? It's a very hard number, and with this whole millions thing, it gets hard to quickly do the math without having a calculator next to you.
Well, especially when they don't have the right stats in the
exactly. You absolutely cannot trust what the game tells you.
Yeah,
right. And somebody,
right? I mean, there are things in game that are misleading. I was just having a conversation with somebody today where you have things like, oh, radioactive damage plus X%, thrower damage plus Y%. Now you do the math. Do you add the two of them, or do you multiply the two of them? I don't know. Right? Oh, it's rocket reload and then explosive reload on the Inferno Dragon, but the explosive reload doesn't even show in the stat block. So if you're not paying attention, you don't know it's there. It's in the special. It doesn't show in the final ship stat block.
Oh, what's really annoying to me is they refuse to actually give us the full information. They want us to be able to figure out invisible statistics that require you to take a load of damage in multiple bases, spending a lot of time just to figure out one value. And there's very, very few people that are going to go through that effort. Very, very few.
Yeah, and people get frustrated. They get. I'll give you an example, right? There's a weapon in game that does about 4,000 damage. Under the right circumstances, that weapon will be doing 200,000 damage. But you have to line up something like 12 variables to get 4,000 over to 200,000, and then people go like, "Oh, this guy must be a hacker. How is he doing that to my fleet with that?" Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and even more frustrating is the stats that are there aren't displayed properly.
Well, another question is, wasn't it easier to hide mistakes when they weren't showing all the projectiles, but we all said, no, we're not going to have that?
Maybe.
Because, I mean, it's easier to hide mistakes, and you can't really pin down what's going on if you don't see what's actually hitting you or know what's actually hitting you.
Yeah, just on that, there was a lot of complaints that the antis weren't landing. And a lot of the argument was that projectiles were disappearing, that you just weren't seeing them. That was just written in the code. But when you actually look at a playback, say you recorded someone hitting you, because obviously you can't use replays because they just don't work. When you watch it back, the missiles didn't disappear. The anti didn't seem to be firing, but the missiles were still landing. So even if you do say, well, the projectiles from the antis weren't being shown, the missiles are still getting through. They're all still landing. Every single one of them, with one ship versus 5 of the antis. And that's a big indication that no, it really just isn't firing.
Just real quick, I know Drew wants to get on to the TLCs, but I've been fighting with Kixeye for a week over this, that my elite countermeasures are not firing at the new siege missiles. And they, of course, insisted on a video. So I took one today, and they're not even turning toward the missiles. They're just sitting there. I have a coaxial turret that is trying to shoot at some of the missiles, but not the ones I spent 15 days with full base parts building. Yeah. They're just sitting there acting like they're on vacation. And Kixeye just, no, we want to see a video. So I took one today, and sure enough, I finally got hit with a guy that had 3 missile cruisers and 2 onslaughts, and the onslaughts were both chain guns. So there was no mortars involved, because they are firing at mortars.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that they're firing. They were clearly firing.
But I didn't want to confuse the situation with have them shooting at mortars, and they're saying, "Oh, look, they're firing." I wanted somebody to come in with missiles, no mortars in the fleet, and hit me. And I finally got that today, and sent them video, and they're just sitting there. Those elite countermeasures will not fire at the new siege missiles. Sorry, Rue, I know you wanted to get on to.
No. It's a valid point, and it's something that we're all seeing.
Well, they act like I'm crazy when I set my ticket in. They wouldn't even.
No, you are crazy, but that's related to the problem.
Did
you clear your cache and do
I did all that. I didn't buy the FPS thing either, because I mean I have a Dell Alienware computer. I play FPS games a lot, like Arma 3 and stuff, getting 80 frames. And this little Flash game, I can have a letter open in Word and be on Facebook and play Battle Pirates at the same time, and not have any lag. So the whole FPS thing, I didn't buy it from jump.
Yeah.
What infuriates me most is when they ask you to do the internet test between your connection at your computer all the way through to their connection, and that thing is a complete lie, and I disproved it to the support, at which they give me the coins for. But
oh yeah,
giving that answer or that reply to a ticket is incredibly deceiving on their end, where they're saying, look, this is on your end, it's your service provider causing this issue. And at least in my case, I proved the complete opposite, that it was on their server end, and there was no argument from them. It was they gave the argument saying, this is your service provider, go talk to them. And when you quote back the exact information, what everything was in it, they immediately drop the argument and say, well, okay, you're right, there's a coin for it. And that's deceitful and really annoying.
Yeah, no, I understand, and I certainly agree with you, but I do know that there are a lot of situations that are caused by people's computers and internet providers, and it's not always Kix's fault. But
I know it's in a lot of situations, yes, it may be on your end, but it's when they say, yes, this is your end, when it's clearly not. And they immediately do a U-turn when you're able to tell them exactly what everything was that was shown there. And I just think that's a really deceitful and poor way to manage your support.
Well, it also, I'm not trying to defend them, but it also does depend on the person that you get too, because I know I've gotten some right doozy answers, and then other ones that are a lot better. But okay, we got about 10 minutes left. The new TLCs, the Abyssal. Has everybody done that?
Yep. Just did round 3 today. All with hunters. Fully kitted out with escalation stuff, but all really easy. No more than, 5-6 corns a pair. Doing the last one, sort of driving okay. It's nice.
And you can do it with fangs for free, so.
Yeah. I actually
I can't
put
talk.
my free proto Tide Seeker in with my hunters, and I did the last prize pack because I'd totally forgotten about it. Unranked, and just sat there and let that whole thing auto itself. And I think I ended up with like 4 hours damage without pulling out to recharge the armor. So I thought it was reasonable. Has anybody put the new trap in their base?
No,
Not yet.
I don't know what.
documented a video from a guy who did, and he's not happy.
I have hit a couple of the player bases in Bounty with them and have not noticed that it actually does anything.
I like the Scourge faction I have running with the Undersea Nets. I'm not going to put that new one in because slowing people down so you can get a lot of pass-through damage is key to keeping somebody from your op. So I like slowing them down. I'm not going to change to a Reaver faction or put in a new net. Things are if it's not broke, don't fix it.
I was on Scourge, then I went Legion for the Executioner, and then I went Forsaken for the Howie. I do miss the ability to slow them down with the Scourge trap, but I think I'm sticking to Forsaken for now because the Howies are working well.
Yep, I agree with Ran.
Yeah. The other thing
But
that I
if not,
like,
I would definitely go back to Scourge.
yeah, the other thing that I liked, and probably everybody else is feeling the same, new targets, not the same skirmish targets that we've had for every other campaign.
True, the last two, eh?
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of nice to get something new. And then, what are your thoughts on the Transformer?
Put down your countermeasure turrets. Enjoy.
It's a bit of a mix, and I had the defense transformers on some frontline turrets just at the entrance of channel, just to bother the attackers because they're more of an annoyance than actually do damage. But they slow them down a little bit. The new one's good because combines defense and range. That doesn't hurt.
No, I like it. Has anybody put one on? How long does it take? Is it 3 days or something?
It's real quick, Hefe.
Okay.
Don't know that I put them on anything other than the non-working elite countermeasures, though. And the range doesn't affect them, and I already have defense on those. So, I mean, it seems like you lose some damage there, and I don't know. I'm not going to try them, so...
No, I would never put it anywhere where you have the attack transformer right now.
Right.
But if you're using the defense transformer somewhere, or the range transformer, I would definitely replace with the new one because it's a good combo of both.
Right.
Well,
what
with
about
with the current minimum damage game, does it really matter? I mean, it seems like it should go on, in theory, it should go on everything until we get new weapons or something changes in the game where we're doing significantly more than minimum damage with our turrets. You might as well extend your range, get more shots in, and also increase your defense at the same time. Does that make sense?
No, yeah. I mean, for all the turrets you have, like emancipators and that kind of stuff, only doing minimum damage, you're absolutely right. Start shooting earlier, more range, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And more defense, they'll take more shots.
So what about the penetrative overlay?
Best thing in that TLC.
Yeah, good tool. Good tool now.
In my opinion.
Yep, I have my outpost at 87.5.
And that's because of what a lot of people are hitting you with right now. It's because of the missile cruisers. It makes it the best thing in that TLC.
Yeah. Okay, the new Mega TLC. Has everybody done that?
Yep.
Not yet.
I could actually finish one this time.
Yep, and it was kind of fun.
That last one especially, I had to keep changing my rockets around, and because every time I come in at a different spot compared to the other Mega, that last prize pack, that was a lot of fun actually, because I had to keep changing my Mega ship around where the turrets were and stuff.
Yeah, but let me ask you a question. If you didn't have Rob's video, would you have known where to put it?
No, I went in and just retreated out right away. I didn't see Rob's. I know what video you're talking about. I didn't watch it yet.
Then how did you know where to put it? Because it made a hell of a lot of difference.
I went in and retreated. I went in, looked at it, retreated out right away before the battle started, and then moved my modules accordingly. Because I could, based on where the mega ship was, I could tell if I wanted the rockets on the side and the front, or even, where I wanted the drone modules, that kind of thing. I just, like I said, went in, retreated out, moved stuff around, went back in.
Yeah, I enjoyed the new targets. I was actually kind of interested in that the enemy megas were completely different to ours. I don't know if anybody else noticed that.
Oh, that's a good point.
That was the original 91s, weren't they?
No. If you look at the outline of it and the shape of it, it's like, or at least I've never seen it before. It's a little bit smaller and not so harsh on the lines.
Yeah, I thought it was the same one that was in our daily mega. It looked similar to that.
One of the, like I say, I thought it was the old 91s. It was what they looked like to me.
I don't know. I just thought it was interesting, and
it was. It was the whole layout was better. I like when they change the targets. I realize that takes them some time and for people to code that, but it's fun because one thing I hate is the monotony of hitting the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And when they change something, it's great.
Yeah, unless you're autoing, but if it's something you got to drive, it does get to be a bit much. I mean, I know March of War, I love the tokens, but oh my gosh, I see that thing and I just cringe.
Didn't do it this time.
I just hate the skirmish targets at this point in time.
Oh yeah, those targets suck. I don't even hit them for uranium. I'd rather get the sector to orange and hit a dub. Hopefully they stay around a while because I hate the new uranium targets. For that reason, I'm just so tired of those targets.
Yeah, I like the Scourge daily campaign and the dubs for that. I don't think I've even hit one of the newer ones.
They need to stop forcing us to do sub targets. It's really frustrating.
Yep.
Anything but the sub targets, please.
Yeah, and they keep doing TLCs with them. That's what I don't get. I mean, nobody says, "Oh, I really like those targets." They keep doing TLCs with them.
Well, if you're doing mandatory chores, you need to have something you can auto because there's just too many of them between uranium and titanium and base parts and doing the FM and everything. It's just too much seat time. So it has to be something you can auto and not have 4 hours damage when you're done.
That's why I said, I mean, I think expeditions should be the way to go. I really like the concept. They need to work on that payout.
Yeah, it's a pittance. It's nothing for the titanium. It's okay for base parts. I send my ironclads on it whenever, but that's the only one I use.
Yeah,
the base parts now with the buck is like very low damage, so you get them coming very fast.
No, I'll send the ironclads on the expedition and keep the buckies around, so when the actual base part targets hit the map, I can auto any target on the map with my bucks. I love my bucks.
Yeah.
I mean, I can do auto 81s for free repair if I'm being lazy, and that's just great. And then
you try the Hydras?
I didn't even build them yet, thanks to dragons and thanks to new skirmish hulls and everything else, and changes to my base guard. Haven't even put a Hydra in the oven yet.
Okay, so just so you know, I did today a few 103s with my Hydras for the first time, and they do really well. You take some damage initially, but once the Mercy module kicks in from the flagship, can do a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, I was doing it with my bucks. It's 300.
No, I'm not telling you they're better than the bucks. I'm just saying for people who listen to this later, the Hydras are a very good option as well. That's all I want to say.
Yeah,
auto with the bucks. It's better if I auto them. If I drive them, I take more damage. I still don't understand that. There's no way I can drive my bucks and take less damage than if I just leave.
Same here.
I just can't.
Better.
I think it's the delay with the rising war. In fact, I've noticed if you go in with the bucks, and even if you don't drive and you just watch it, I end up taking more damage. So I think it's the pop-up functionality. I just point it, hit attack, and then ignore it and leave it.
Right.
It's the distance between the different platforms. Once the targets start appearing, once they start coming up, your bucks will move to it, and by the time they get there, the blue shot or the target should be popped up enough that the blue shot will do damage. Otherwise, if you're driving, you usually drive straight to it, and you start firing, losing your blue shot. So
Yep.
by autoing, you're letting the blue shots do more of the work, taking out the ballistic turrets before they actually do any damage. The only place I would advise anyone to drive is at the end. If you go around the back of the big turret and you time it right, you can one-shot the big turret with your blue shot and kill the ballistic turrets in the same shot. So you can basically do it for tiny damage. I think I got it down to
I
something
just
like
I just throw it in there on auto and repair it for a couple hours overnight. I am a lazy pirate.
That's why I love my Skyfires. Every time I go out for Titanium, I just remember why I love my Skyfires. I'm doing something else entirely, and they're just there working for Titanium. That's great.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of, I know we're about out of time. Rampage reports, of course, happened yesterday, and they talked about the new assault Tier 7 assault hull and the fact that there's only going to be, if I've got this right, one hull, but two different ways that you can build it depending on which way you want to go.
Yep. So there's going to be in April's raid a scattergun, the hull, a special force for scatterguns, and a CIC. I think he said it's called a Savage CIC. So implying that's going to be the shorter range autopilot version you can build, right? Then he said in a TLC, we won't see a second hull, but we'll see a missile weapon, a missile special, and a CIC for that. So you can pick if you want to drive it and be careful and have the long range and whatnot, or you want to just blow shit up.
I know I was having a discussion with somebody today, and you know, along the lines of, okay, so I build it the first way, and then I'd have to do the TLC, and then now I've got a refit. Well, a refit is going to be a lot quicker than building a second fleet.
But I think it's also a matter of timing, right? Let's say there's April's raid, then everybody at first should be building blanks for VXP weekend, right? That's the normal thing to do nowadays, you build them blanks. Now, if the TLC comes right after the raid, you'll be able to choose. If the TLC comes the week after VXP weekend, you're still going to be able to choose. My problem is if they hold the TLC back until like last week before raid, the Maze raid, then they're screwing up with us.
Yeah, when this TLC comes out is of vast importance, because if it's even later than that, if it's in the second month, you know, then we'd have to wait, and they'd have to design the raid only for that, and then we get the new thing to switch to. So we have that decision, and then they can sort of make targets that apply to either version. I'm wondering how assets are going to go going forward, and I hope, because we have two styles, I hope that means escalation stops existing, because I still don't want to have to refit the same thing twice if I like the corrosive, but I like the pen more. So I have to refit to that, and then I have to refit to the pen escalation. Double refits. You know, we're starting to get into, maybe this is, you know, new.
I'm also hoping they don't confine us to a single elite target, that there's some variety, because one of the benefits of having two hulls is like I run the Buckies on auto for a while on one target, then I send it to repair, get the Hydra. I know most players don't get two fleets, but when you do, it becomes a lot less boring.
Yeah, but it seems like we're going to need two fleets anyway. I'm just wondering if they're going to take us down this path where I'm going to need a fleet with the corrosive setup and a fleet with the penetrative setup, because I'm going to have different targets. And then when they eventually go to be inshore targets, I'm going to have both kinds to do different targets, and the TLCs that, you know, Brian just mentioned. I don't want to do that. I mean, that's basically the same as making us make two fleets. We just have a different CIC on them and different weapons. I mean,
yeah, if you're going to have to build two fleets, one per setup, then you're right.
I mean, I gambled this time, and I still have, like I said, I haven't put a Hydra in the oven, and because of all the other stuff I had to build. And I coined some, but I'm not going to spend a couple of, $300-400 a month on this game. I'm just not going to do that and rush everything through and buy tokens out of the shop every day. So I'm going to pick one, and I like to smash shit up, so I'll pick the corrosive one, and hopefully that makes it, because if it doesn't, I'm not going to spend time in my shipyard refitting, and I'm certainly not going to build a second fleet with the penetrative on it. But then am I going to end up screwed later by not doing that? And that's that attitude about just pisses me off.
Well, it's a valid point.
Flip the question over. So okay, we know we have the information there will be one hull, and we have the information there will be 2 sets of components for them. How do we want the rate to be with that information? First of all, I think everybody agree we don't want to build 10 ships, have 2 fleets, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
So we want to be able to succeed with either setup and just pick the setup based on personal preference, right?
So if it works that way, then the corrosive one would get done faster, be able to do more targets, but it would take more damage. The penetrative one would be more of a drive fleet you got to drive, and then you're doing the corrosive one on auto. The penetrative one you'd have to drive. It would take longer to do the targets. You would do less targets, but you would take less damage. So that should be the ideal thing, that any target could be done by either fleet. Just pick your poison. Do you want to take longer, take less damage, or you want to get it done quick and maybe take a few more coins damage?
I usually think that the corrosive setup probably will be shorter range, meaning you'll take a regular, it's probably going to be more tanky, but shorter range. So you always take a certain amount of damage no matter what.
Right.
Right? The missile option, probably, if it's like a cannoneer in the past or something like that, there's a way you can drive very carefully, yada, yada, where you can do it nearly damage-free. But when you make a mistake, it's less tanky, so you're going to take more repair when you make mistakes than just driving carelessly the corrosive version, right? Is that fair?
And the target would take twice as long to finish them, too.
I don't know about the timing, because right now Hydras are pretty quick.
But if you're driving something and you're being careful, because if you take a hit, you're going to have to take longer to do the target, is my point. Where if you're just slamming the thing in there and you're not worried about it, it's going to take as long as it takes to kill everything, and you're not worried about the damage it takes.
Yeah. So and now, assuming they keep the point requirement, then how much should the elite target pay? And are you guys happy having only one elite target, or would you expect them to still have 2 elite targets, one for the optimized for the missile version, the other for the corrosive version?
No, that's just saying build 2 fleets again.
But that's what they're going to do. That's how they reward you, quote unquote, reward you for building both fleets.
But now they don't want you to build 2 fleets. That's what I've been hearing all the time. No,
I don't.
2 fleets.
No. I don't think it's that they don't want you to build 2 fleets. They don't want you to build 2 individual boat fleets.
I don't know. I think they don't want you to have to build both.
You don't have to. Again, Ren, you don't have to. It's a choice that they give you. If you build both fleets, here's a reward in the form of 4 million points for completing both targets.
Now down to 2 million points.
Okay, but you still don't have to do it.
But that's the question, is if they do that. So if they remove the bonus component entirely and they build 2 targets and say 5 million for this one, version A, 5 million for this one, version B, then there is no real reason to build that second fleet.
Correct. So, and that's why I'm asking, how do we want it to be? Do we want it to be like that? Then 2 targets but no bonus for set? I like that.
Yep. Or even, I'm not sure, programmatically without it screwing up or what have you, even if it's only 1 target.
Yeah, 1 target
and
balance
for
works. Both versions. That works for both versions.
But I see what Rumrunner's saying. Look, if you want to build 10 ships and you want to take that extra time or money, if Kixay had their way, and you built 10 ships, you'd be able to get an extra 4 million points by having those 10 ships. 5 to hit the
yeah, but if they do that spiritually, they're not delivering on their promise if they do
No,
but that's
what promise. What promise did they make? What promise did they? Didn't make any promise.
The promise is that we will not need 2 fleets to events.
They said you don't have to have 2 fleets.
Right.
They didn't.
Well, we don't have to have 2 fleets now. If you
we do. Now we do, because if you don't, there were TLCs. They just fixed it with the new TLC this week. But
it's a combination of what everybo's saying. Okay.
For skirmish right now, we had to have 2 fleets. Otherwise, you couldn't finish TLCs.
I'm not. Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
don't dispute that whatsoever. That may change when they bring the TLCs out and that they're geared towards a boat, whatever. But it's the American way. You work harder, you pay more, you get more.
Yeah,
So
they
that's
didn't,
what they're
they didn't
doing.
repeat that mistake either with the Siege. You notice
No.
various Siege TLCs we had, you could do them with either the Buckies or the Hydras. I like
You're
the
right.
Buckies on auto, but
Yeah.
you could do them with the Hydras. And that skirmish mistake they made, which was huge.
Yeah.
I
so
mean,
if
I got 400 mil in the last raid just using Buckies with no Hydras, not even shells done, and I was happy with my Buckies, and I didn't care about missing out in the 400.
You don't feel like you're missing out on anything. I think that's the whole point.
No, I don't
Yeah.
feel like it. If I have a ship that can do the raid and get me all the prizes to the point where I guess I'm going to have to go up and get shards now because I've spent all my points. Shards for ships I'll never build, like Ghost Crawler and crap like that. That's what I was spending points on at the end because I had literally bought everything else, even when they added tokens. So I was good to go with just Buckies and didn't have any Hydras. And that's fine. If they want to do 2 targets and give you an extra 4 mil for doing both, and you want to build 10 ships, then go for it. I'm just going to build one. And if I'm wrong, and this is the good part of it, if I'm wrong, then I just got to refit those 5 ships to the other one.
Yeah.
Well,
See,
I think the
what
key point is, as stated, is the TLCs. If either hull will do any TLC after the raid, and so far we've seen that with the siege hulls where charged armor, the Bucky campaign or the other. So far we've seen that either hull will work in those. But if the TLC afterwards does not require both fleets, then I think it is okay, and then everybody can either build one or the other, or if they want to build both and then get the bonus. That's the driver, I think, of this.
Yeah.
The sad point is a lot of this comes down to coins. I think it should come down more to hard work than what it is that you can buy. I think if you want to put in the work and they offer the way to build both fleets and you choose to do that, you should be rewarded. I think they need to give people a reason to play instead of force them to play a certain way.
And I'm going to agree with Ron. It's just where we draw the line. And that's a discussion we had. And it was one occasion where I agreed with Price, where he said, it's okay having the bonus for the elite set. It just can't be as big as the point payout for the target. So we got to a point where, 2 million points was reasonable as a bonus, like $5 million per target and 2 million if you can do both. That's a reasonable incentive that doesn't feel like a punishment.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't have a problem. I just like to say it's just the reward. If you put in the work, you put in the time. If you choose to put in the coin, that's okay, I guess. But reward me for the work that I do. Don't make me do the work for no reward.
Yep. Okay. Well, we ran a little bit over, but I think that's a good point where we can pause. Thank you, everybody, for joining me on the panel today, and thank you for those of you that joined us in chat. And I guess we'll see everybody on Tuesday's show.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, Auntie Roo.
Good night.
Good night.